Keep your hands and head inside the vehicle at all times. Buckle your seatbelts, check your mirrors, sit on back and relax. It's lights out and away we go for the Tall and Short of It podcast. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
I'm Aaron. Welcome back, everyone. Justin, good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you, too. We've got a jam-packed show for the folks this evening. Go on and tell them about it.
Yeah, so really exciting show. We had the Mexico City Grand Prix this past weekend, along with the World Finals for the League of Legends World Championship. So we've got a lot of good talk about that going on, and some other topics that we'll drop in here and there. But Justin, how's your week been?
Yeah, my week's been pretty good. You want to get right into the Rose, Thorn, and Seed there?
Sure, absolutely. So my rose this week this weekend is Colleen's birthday, so it's going to be a fun weekend. We're going to spend some time Saturday with her family, and then do dinner with some of her good friends. And then Sunday, on her actual birthday, we're going to go and do dinner out. I know she listens, so I won't spoil it here because I'm keeping that a surprise. But yeah, so that's going to be looking like a pretty fun weekend coming up, and all. So I'm excited for that.
Nice. I'm trying to hold back saying like, ooh, the big 5-0, that's exciting. Just like calling it like mad old.
Nah.
She's like, ooh, the big 4-5. Let's get it.
That's a great, that would be a great bit. Just anytime someone tells you it's their birthday, it could be like a 7-year-old.
Way overshoot.
Oh, 30? You're going to be 30 this year?
Yep.
So, yeah, overshooting.
That sounds like fun, though.
So, yeah, it should be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully a pretty nice, relaxing weekend with some good company. So,
nice.
My thorn for this week, and it's more of a, like, just the past couple days, but I've been not feeling 100% health-wise. I, like, started to get a sore throat a little bit a couple days ago, but it's not, like, can't quite figure out what it is, because I have gotten strep throat a number of times in my life, and this doesn't feel like that. And otherwise, I feel pretty decent, except today I got my COVID booster, so that was this morning, and they kind of say that you will most likely have a similar reaction to it as you had to the second vaccine shot, and the second vaccine shot knocked me on my ass. I was running a fever and felt like shit, so I have a feeling that this one, by tomorrow morning, I'm probably not going to be feeling too phenomenal. So,
well, I'm glad you're looking good and feeling good here for the pod.
Yeah, absolutely. I was ready to record. Nothing gonna hold that back. So no worries.
Hell yeah, I like that.
And then my seed is this past weekend. Colleen and I were out and about on Saturday morning, and we went to this place close by. It's like a farm with like a petting zoo type animals and all, but they also have like, it's like orchard, apple picking, and all that stuff.
Okay.
But while we were there, we bought, they have a selection of a lot of different unique hot sauces. So we bought 3 of them because Colleen's family has a hot sauce competition around Thanksgiving, where everyone brings some pretty hot sauces, and we sit around a table and taste test them and see if anyone makes it to the end. So that's...
Now, is the goal to get ever hotter, or is it just like maybe some lateral moves, maybe some forward moves,
Definitely.
some like flavor guys, some...
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's
okay.
a lot of mix. It's, for one, I don't know how they started it. I'd actually have to find out. But the gist seems to be that they like all like hot sauce, and that it's a way for them to like find new ones that they maybe haven't had or that might taste good. It's also definitely a little bit of a way to be like, hey, there's some really hot sauces. Let's see who has the cojones to give them a shot.
Yeah,
So,
that's dope. Okay, cool. And that was all kind of part of your staycation, eh? Not that
yeah,
you were saying the hot sauce thing is coming up,
right.
but this weekend was your staycation.
Yeah, we had done our little like do nothing weekend, but during that, well, it was more of a like we didn't plan anything with anyone. We were
Sure,
like, we're
sure, sure,
just
sure.
gonna chill. If we decide to do stuff, we do. If we want to sit inside and do nothing for the entire weekend, we can do that too and have no obligation. But we decided, yeah, to go. It was a nice day on Saturday, so we went out there, bought some stuff, checked out the animals a little bit in the like little zoo-ish area, and then went for a walk down. There's like some trails that are similar to ones that we have over there in where we're from.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
that's fun.
yeah, so that was a nice weekend, but yeah, the hot sauces are the seed since that's a few weeks out when we'll have that right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, nice. That's what's
So,
up.
but how about yourself?
So my rows for this week and kind of for today, I woke up this morning. I didn't have any clients. Sarah was at the office. I didn't have anything really pressing on the agenda for today. So it was kind of nice to just have a morning. I was really able to just kind of sit, hang out with Sasha, look out the window, have a couple cups of coffee. I had some like real time to think. So that was pretty fun to think about like the holidays and the what would you say, some like game strategy, just like some self-talk, just a whole bunch of good time spent, I think, just like mulling things over. So that's my rose for today.
A little bit
The
of
Thorn,
meditating on some different things.
you got it. And for like more than I'm usually able to dedicate it, I was able to spend a good amount of time with that. So that was very refreshing, I would say.
Nice.
My thorn here, and these are just like an ongoing thing. It's probably been my thorn before, but these goddamn robot calls from companies selling our data to God knows who, and it's just endless. You get like one or two a day, and you always think it's a client, so you like answer with your best foot forward, and it's just somebody to tell me that my subscription is past due or whatever the hell. So that's like just big old thorn.
Yeah.
Thorn in my paw.
Yeah, those are pretty frustrating because I'm similarly like with my work and everything. A lot of vendors and different people have my number. And I provide it, or I'll call someone and leave a voicemail and be expecting a call back. And then, yeah, you get interrupted with so many of those kinds of calls. It's very annoying and just, I don't know. Like, I feel like we're past the time where robocalls need to be a thing anymore.
Sure, yeah, and yeah, it can be. It's like an attention grabber, because and then you want to complain and blah blah blah. So it just like totally diverts your attention. So yeah, big thorn in my paw for those. My seed here is coming up, reflecting on like the World Finals. We have. I'm pretty sure I texted you. We have 104 points left up for grabs in the Formula One Drivers' Championship. I don't know if the constructors is this if it's the same points allotted or same points possible.
Gotcha. Oh, so you mean like for P1?
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
For P1, there's
Um,
4 races plus 4 pole positions, or plus 4 fastest laps, right?
yeah, but there's also 3 more points, so there's 107 because there is one more sprint race that is coming up this weekend,
Oh, yes.
and that is for the or this is that this weekend Brazilian Grand
Yeah.
Prix.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
because it's
yeah.
a triple header.
Yep, I was just double checking myself. I didn't want to misspeak. But yeah, for the Brazilian Grand Prix on Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
But just thinking of the end of the year, a lot of things are wrapping up. I'm very, very, very much looking forward to next year. I have a lot of ideas for things for the show, ways to improve, things to just add and ever increase the production value. So just really just thinking of the future. And I encountered an odd idea, just as far as like MTG Finance goes. I think I'd like to buy a storage unit and try and find one that's got like a bunch of binders and collectibles and stuff, and maybe find some old baseball and Pokemon cards. Maybe somebody's got some Magic cards in there. I think that would be a really good grab.
Yeah, but I don't know how you figure out what's like potentially in these things.
I saw the one website that I was looking at before the pod. They have images of just like the front view. They don't have anything picked apart, and then it has like little captions of "looks like" is here, and obviously some things are really obvious, but like most things are in bins and whatever. So
how much does something like that like go for?
Dude, they were like $40-$50 for like a whole house worth of shit.
Where can like? Yeah,
everywhere.
I guess
everywhere, bro.
I guess you have to like also though think about the fact that you have to get this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Or
that's part
like,
of the agreement.
Or I guess like pay for a month with the storage unit.
Yeah.
Or something. I guess.
Who knows what the process is, but I just thought it'd be an interesting idea. I saw shout out other YouTube homie Moist Critical.
Nice.
That he posted a video recently, and I was like, that's an interesting idea. But I'm curious if it's better to go in with the idea of like get something randomly, or like hunting for this specific thing in that vein might be really difficult. But I just thought it was a funny idea.
Yeah, I guess it depends what you're going for. If it's like something that you're like, okay, I'm looking for certain type of product or certain type of something that would be in storage, or if you're just like, hey, I'll throw $50 at the wall and see if anything sticks and like go from there.
Sure.
So
I think it'd be fun.
I think it would be. I think the only thing my only concern is if I would do something like that would be like, where am I going to put the stuff? Like, I don't have anywhere to like store a like crate full of junk.
Right.
Or
yeah, I think
like
the idea would be
to get rid of stuff that's like, if hey, you open up a thing and you just pull a bunch of junk and you've got some giant old like elliptical from the 1980s that the person just used to hang their laundry on until they put it in storage. Like, I don't know where I'm gonna chuck that. I don't have a big dumpster to do that.
So yeah, we're easily finding out it could be just a total crapshoot. But just the idea of finding like just some old like reserve list Magic card or something, I'm just like, man, that could be insane.
Oh, I mean, easily be worth like 10 times the shipping crate.
Oh yeah,
like
which would be amazing.
Crate. So
yeah, like you got to figure. Yeah, that would just be crazy. But so yeah, that's my Rose Thorn seed for the week. Just some things I've been thinking about. Nice. But let's keep this show moving, Aaron. What did you think about the Mexican City Grand Prix?
I mean, I was excited at the start, but the rest of the race was relatively standard. There wasn't any real like shakeups later on or anything. Couple of like short yellow flags being waved and things like that, and a safety car right at the start. But otherwise, I don't know. It was like not the most exciting race. It is exciting though how it has affected the championship, I guess. So that's my main just like general feeling about the race.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have imagined you would have been a little more excited for Sergio.
But the racing itself, like the event itself was really awesome. Like they did have a lot of, but like for the actual race, it was exciting seeing like Checo chase Lewis at the end, but just the fact that he could just never quite get into that like striking distance. He kind of kept being held off until he decided to just make that little half-assed lunge to try and get past Lewis and then drop back 2 seconds behind again. Like, it was exciting, like, seeing him creep closer. I was like, oh, what's going to happen? And then the climax of that was just kind of like landed flat. They didn't get to really battle. There was no side-by-side racing. Who's going to get the inside line on this turn? It was just like Checo got caught up in the dirty air behind Lewis and couldn't just quite get close enough to get past him. So,
yeah, and I think a big factor of that specifically was the short track. Yeah. So they were all diving past back markers the whole race. Like, there were so many blue flags out. If you looked at the mini map, it was so confusing. So yeah, just a big tough time for Sergio trying to catch up to Lewis there. But yeah, that's an interesting take.
Well, but the like event itself was like awesome. I mean, the Mexican fans who were there, were just unbelievable. I think they said they had 372,000 different fans or something, or fans total throughout the weekend and all, which is just an enormous number. That's really pretty cool to see. The grandstand was awesome. Checo's dad was hilarious, and like seeing how excited he was.
I know, you would have thought he won the race, right?
Yeah, you would have thought that like either his dad or Checo won the race, which neither of which happened. But the event itself was very cool, and I enjoyed watching it. But just kind of once the race got going, there were about, I felt like 50 laps or so right in the middle that really didn't have a ton going on. Just people complaining about tires until Checo said, no, these tires are great. So.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I thought some of the, like, what would you say, more the like midfield storylines, I thought those were exciting enough. The start from Max I thought was just insane.
Oh yeah.
And the whole shaming Valtteri, like, oh, you just let him go by and this and that. It's like, goddamn, dude, that's a tough, you're hanging the guy out. But I thought, great start from Max. Pierre getting P4, I thought that was crazy. The Ferrari 6 and 7.
That's a good Pierre race, I feel like. I feel like most of the time when he has good races, he just kind of is like up far, but just in no man's land where he's not like challenging anyone, but no one's really challenging him. So
yeah. Just great result, and especially from a race where Yuki had a DNF. But yeah, overall, maybe now I'd agree. Overall, not the most exciting race. I think the points are very exciting. Where now Max almost has a race in hand.
Yeah, I think he has 19 points on. Yeah, 19 on Lewis right now.
So race in hand is bold to say, but he has a decent lead.
I mean, if he finishes P1 and Lewis finishes P2 in one more race, it's 2 races left, and that would be a full race lead. That would be 25 points. So
right.
So yeah, I think that is. That's really exciting, but also the fact that after this weekend, Red Bull clawed that constructors battle back to 1 point down. They're within 1 point, so 3 races to go, and it's time to see how Mercedes and Red Bull kind of push towards the end here. So,
wait, 3 races to go or 4?
Sorry, I think it's 4. Yeah. So Brazil, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and then Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. Gotcha.
My bad. So
no, you're fine. I didn't really realize this until this year. The calendar follows the warmth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 I'm clueless.
And they avoid like certain areas that are crazy hot until like it's winter. Like they aren't going to go to Austin, Texas in July. So they
Right.
go there in November or like October, November timeframe, or like some of those too.
You know, speaking of like following the weather, there must be weathermen that work for Formula One that have to do the year out projections and say like, well, it may be raining in Singapore that weekend, like big time, like torrential floods or whatever.
I feel like
So
they don't go that far ahead, but like each week there is a like breakdown of like weather expectations. I'm pretty sure on the Formula One website, so they definitely
sure.
have like someone who's on it. But
Yeah, well, I'm saying they have to put like a tentative calendar together, right? Like, this race is this weekend, this race is that weekend.
yeah,
So if they're putting that in place a year in advance, or let's say 10 months in advance, whatever it is, I just would think it's funny talking to a weather person where like, the common narrative is like, oh, weather people never have to be right and
yeah,
like they still have their jobs. Formula One weather techs probably take big offense to that because they have to likely be within the ballpark when like the data gathering begins and the prep starts and this and that. They've
yeah.
probably got to be pretty on board.
Yeah, I'm sure they have like a general idea of like what weather could be like at that time of year and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be like it's just a tough job. I feel like in that position because you are expected, and I guess at this point they've kind of gotten it down enough to a science of like what order of races to have so that they are kind of following the heat and everything, or staying away from the heat, I guess.
Or just following optimum weather, you could say.
Yeah. So I think they've kind of gotten that into a pretty good system, which is why they end up doing a similar calendar most years. But yeah, very like weird job. I feel like to have. That's like a unique one that you don't think about that much.
Dude, definitely up there on the payroll, though, I would imagine. Well, that makes me think of like one of the important elements for this weekend's race was the elevation of Mexico City. So the high altitude means thinner air, meaning it's more physically draining on the racers, but also that thin air creates like downforce concerns.
Well, yeah, because
So
there's less friction from the air. So whether that's in drag, which allows them to drive a little faster on the straights, or whether it's like downforce, there's less um, molecules of air to kind of
right.
like stabilize things, hold things in place, or to move in that instance, move around the car in a certain way. There's less molecules physically, so there's less of that downforce and everything coming through. So
Yeah,
it's
so that
not,
was an interesting. Go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was gonna say it just has to be weird driving in that comparatively because like your tire wear is gonna be different. Your like turning and braking zones and things like that are gonna be different than what you would typically like expect in all two. So
Yeah, and you could really see it come through in like the practice and the qualifying sessions this weekend where there was a lot of like not like binning it, but people going wide on certain turns just because I believe with the way the air was and it was like dusty on the track, it's
yeah.
all blowing over. It was creating some scenarios where people were having problems under braking, and it was an interesting like lesson in aerodynamics for a race weekend overall, because I'm not sure I'd been exposed to that before, where it was like a big talking point of the weekend was the elevation and the dust.
Yeah, and I think that's also why the FIA wasn't really watching as closely for people like for track limits violations. Like this wasn't a track that they were like waving the black and white flags at people for track limits and things like that. They just kind of let it go, unless of course someone like passes while or like gains a lasting advantage kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, so that it was definitely an interesting thing because you got to see like, and they did talk about it a lot, like the additional speed that the Red Bull seemed to be getting going around the track, and how then like with the lack of downforce as well, like the dirty air, which what I was saying with Checo trying to push to catch up to Lewis, because of that dirty air behind the car and lack of downforce, you're moving around a lot more and have a lot less control of the car if you're trying to pass. So, so definitely like an interesting point, because I don't think we have too many other like tracks that have similar like issues. Like when we're over in the Middle East for the end of the season, I know some of the tracks there have issues with like dust and sand blowing onto the track and things like that. But that is like, that's one thing, but to have that as well as the lower downforce is a different ballpark altogether.
Yeah, that seems like a different beast. But overall, the drivers seemed to manage it well once they got into the race. There wasn't much craziness going on. The lap one, turn one kerfuffle between Danny Ricciardo and Valtteri just kind of totally ruined Valtteri's race overall, or so we thought. There was the element of him like, you know, working back up through the pack, took advantage of some pit timings, but then the awful pit stop from Mercedes just ruined his day. He was just behind Danny the whole time. So yeah, that was a tough one there. But yeah, I think other than that, there wasn't too much exciting. Max drove a phenomenal race. Lewis was disappointed. Didn't have the pace, man.
Yeah, and I think it was just like that's a pretty Red Bull track, like Red Bull heavy track at this point. It looks like, just based on past, and Max, that being his third time, which they mentioned on that is the most for anyone winning. So Jim Clark, one of his races that is on
was
there,
at the first one.
Well, it was the Mexico City Grand Prix track, but it was not an official F1 calendar race. It was just a race that was held at the F1 track and all. So that would be why that's kind of like they don't like count it as like
gotcha
a third win, even though he has one on that track. Only two were F1 wins, so they count that as just two from what they're saying on the broadcast. So, but yeah, Mexico City Grand Prix, Max has won 3 times in, I think, the last 4 races there, I believe. Yep. So I just feel like that the track does work well with what Red Bull looks to do with the car and all. So yeah, Mercedes just didn't have the pace, and they are pretty fortunate that Lewis was able to kind of keep that keep ahead of Checo at the end. So
yeah, or else that would have been a much better day for Red Bull in that scenario.
Yeah, and I did want to bring up like. There was a tweet I saw, and I'm kind of curious what you think about it. So regarding like this car speed and all. So Lewis, I guess, in one of the post-race interviews said when you've got Checo on your tail, you know that the car is quick. Like, oh yeah, like Checo's not going to be near me unless like their car is just straight up faster that week, kind of thing. Which the person who tweeted it was a bit bitter with Lewis Hamilton and all, and someone just responds and they go, Max says this about Bottas all the time and you applaud him. So I just thought it was an interesting thing that little shade being thrown out by Lewis, but also like just the fans getting in on the banter a little bit, I guess.
Oh, very much so, yeah. And the drivers are not afraid to call it like they see it, where if the team has if the opponent has an advantage, they're not afraid to state that and try and use every moment of on camera as a piece of warfare, as a piece of psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Whether
Especially in
it's
this close of a title fight and all.
oh, big time. Anything they could say to, maybe rile the feathers, take the focus off of this and that. So yeah, that seems like a very strategic drop there from Lewis Hamilton. Very much like these tires are gone. Proceeds to put in the fastest lap.
Yeah, which he didn't do this week. The tire excitement this week was just that everyone's complaining about the tire wear, and then Checo's sitting there like 41 laps on a medium set, and he's like, the tires are just getting better. Like,
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Some really fast pit stops. Notably, we had like some 2.2s, a couple of 2.3s, and I think a bunch of like 2.4 and 5s. So just overall, like big performances from the pit team as well, other than the Valtteri one. But
yeah, that was just a bummer because it was the same or similar situation for the race that he had to retire from, that the wheel nut got kind of like welded on or torn apart when they were trying to take it off the tire and everything. So
yeah, I'm curious if that's indicative of like a larger engineering issue where Mercedes is having trouble with maybe like a brake overheating or like a cooling duct something or other.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of it because the like I'm pretty sure during the replays and all of his pit stop, you could see his front left brake catch fire. It was smoking pretty hard. So definitely seems like that might be an issue since they've had it early on in the season with some of the warmer races, and now later on in the season, again, as the races kind of start to get warmer, there was kind of a lull in the middle with some slightly cooler races. So
yeah, that's a good point to make, actually.
Yeah. So hopefully,
about it happening at the warm tracks, yeah.
I mean, I hope that they don't have any continued issues because we do have some hot races coming up still, like we were saying with the Middle East tracks. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that goes and everything. But I feel for Valtteri. He's already being put like in the second position for Mercedes and everything, but that along with just getting the bad luck that he has kind of had is a bummer for him. I just would like him to be able to wrap out his final season with Mercedes well and without issue and all. Like, just let the boy race.
Well, sure, but it's hard to do that if Daniel Ricciardo's like fucking taking him out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the pit stop didn't help, but you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that was, of course, Danny hit him, and I think it should have been a penalty of some sort, because if there had been, then Valtteri would have ended up ahead of him no matter what, pretty much. But
right.
But the fact that Valtteri really outbraked himself, and I haven't seen if he's talked about it at all what happened, because he braked really, really early. Like Lewis and Max both on either side of him braked much, much later, going into turn one there, and I think that may have jumbled things up a little bit. Still, of course, that's the start of races. Drivers should be very on edge and ready to avoid someone breaking a little earlier than they expect. But yeah, like I feel for him, but I think he may have caused a little, like the tiniest fraction of it on his own by doing that, braking early.
Fair enough. I think that's pretty solid analysis.
Yeah. And because you mentioned it earlier on, I wonder if that is due to like the difference in the high altitude and all, and whether like he maybe was braking in what would normally be like a reasonable braking distance and all, but because of the thinner air and everything, like later braking might have been a better option. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to know what goes on in those moments, but yeah, the contact ended up not being penalized just because Daniel didn't come away clean either. He got like knocked out as well. They were obviously they didn't DNF, but they were able to get back on the track. But because they were like racing together pretty much the whole time, I can see why they didn't do a penalty. However, what is interesting was how much Max got the better of Valtteri on that side, and that early braking from him just let Max just fucking, well, that's mine, thank you.
Oh
So
yeah.
that was amazing to see at the start of the race and have Max come away clean. But yeah,
Yeah, really good start for Max. And Lewis, I mean, Lewis did too, but Max just had the better line coming into turn one and all. So, not the most fun start with there being an accident and all, people getting taken out, Mick Schumacher getting knocked out. But overall, a little bit of excitement at the start.
yeah, and then we had some people like going back to the previous day of qualifying and practice. We had some people like bending it in the wall and stuff. So yeah, there was all sorts of what would you call those follies? Just as many as there were victories. Like for Sergio having the whole first like podium for a Mexican driver, that feels pretty good. I was happy to be there to see that. The fanfare was amazing. It was awesome watching them like fast set up the barriers so they could have like everyone safely come and crowd the wherever that dragon was painted on the ground. So yeah, it was a sick podium and sick finish to the race. It was overall really fun.
Yeah, really cool, exciting finish. And yeah, big congratulations to Checo, because that is exciting. I think to be able to place that highly at your home race and all, it's not super common. So that's got to be like, I feel like that has to end up being one of his best memories of his career, like down the road too. Like I'm sure there's things that could top it, but that's got to be up there. Like getting that kind of welcome at home and all, and the celebration and all. So
Yeah, definitely. Cool. It was, before we move on, it was interesting hearing. So they caught Sergio's dad for a quick little interview after the race, after the podium, and he was talking about how like it wasn't just good for him and his family, it was good for, like he mentioned, it was good for Mexico as a whole, because everybody's traveling there for tourism, the hotels are full, the restaurants are full, and just the enthusiasm that he had for the victory, and not for like very personal reasons, but he felt like it was spreading a richness or a wealth to like his whole country and his whole people in a way. And I thought that was fascinating, that there's still this spirit of nationality and pride associated with the victory at the home race. I think it's awesome that in something some of that in the world of Pepsi sponsored halftimes and the Santander replay, sometimes it feels removed from the national spirit of the thing and like why we gather and why we compete. So hearing the father of a competitor talk about how this one event could bring riches to the whole, like his whole people, I thought that was a powerful idea. I was like, God damn, this guy's fucking Jesus.
Yeah, well, and like on that aspect of it too, I think that's why it's even bigger that Checo did podium here, because I mean, races and tracks go on and off the F1 calendar. Like they change around. Sometimes contracts with one venue drops off and you pick up a contract with somewhere else, and like all these different things. And the fact that they had such an amazing turnout and everything, there's going to be continued excitement about Formula One in Mexico with Checo being a driver. Like that is a good reason for F1 to continue to continue going back there for races, so that they can like and that again brings more of that long-term kind of influx of extra money, vacationers, whatnot, to your country. So
Yeah, it was, and I think this is what you're getting at. It felt like the type of victory that is going to create more winning opportunities for Mexico as an F1 country down the line as a whole, which is
yeah,
like super exciting.
definitely.
Yeah.
So
Monumental day for Mexican Formula One fans overall and Mexican drivers overall, I imagine, when something like that happens. Yeah, that's just really cool. We watched history be made.
we did. So really, really awesome weekend overall. Even if I didn't think the race was the most exciting we've had,
Sure.
but like we said a little earlier, Max has stretched the lead for the drivers' championship to 19 points. Checo's just 20 points down on Valtteri for third as well. So he's still in the hunt there, even if he's a little far off as well. And then for the constructors, Mercedes is 1 point up on Red Bull. Ferrari had a nice jump and are now 13.5 points up on McLaren. And Alpine and AlphaTauri are tied for fifth at 106 points with Pierre's great finish this week. So,
Oh wow, that's exciting.
so as a like a sister team to potentially be ahead of Renault, like the Alpine Renault, the constructor team. I think that's pretty exciting for them in general. So
Yeah, I definitely agree. And for it being Yuki's rookie season, Pierre's still really young. The team seems like they have a great car package that they bring every weekend. Yuki's only improving, so for them to be in this fight for fifth place, having considered a lot of these things, and Alonso being a very seasoned driver, and they're able to not necessarily maybe get the better of them, but compete with them. Maybe Ocon not having the best finishes that the team would have liked him to. Obviously, he got a podium this year, or not a podium, he got a victory this year, which is like crazy, insane, exciting. But it feels like when talking about consistency and reliability, it seems like AlphaTauri a little bit has the edge in that conversation.
yeah, I would say so. Without some rookie mistakes and like DNFs for just unfortunate circumstances with Yuki,
They'd
I
be
think they
ahead.
would be ahead. And I mean, I guess we'll just see how it shakes out, but it's definitely exciting to see that. And Pierre up, he's got himself up in P9 for the drivers as well, which is pretty cool also.
Yeah, definitely. Just a note between those two teams, they'll have the same rosters going into next year.
Yep.
So we'll have a little bit of time to see them develop, and now that they have some time with the team and in the car, we'll see what they can really do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, Yuki will continue getting better. He's definitely got some areas of improvement, but he also shows some just raw talent and everything. So definitely excited to see the two of them, Pierre and Yuki, back on the grid next year. So
Yeah, for sure.
but I guess anything else from this weekend's race, or are you ready to hit on some League of Legends?
No, I think that is all the main points that I wanted to hit. I'm good to move on to the finals if you are.
Cool. Absolutely. So one thing that I did have to bring up is
Drop it. What are you gonna say?
it was Travis had tweeted out, Travis Gafford of
Don't
Travis
tell me you
Gafford.
follow that guy. He's such a goof.
He is a goof, but he always has the roster stuff. But someone posted on the League of Legends subreddit that since 2014, if a team beats Cloud9 in the bracket stage, they lose to the eventual world champion. So, like,
how many times has that happened?
So 2014, Samsung Blue beat C9, and they lost to Samsung White in the semifinals. 2016, Samsung Galaxy beat C9 and loses to SKT in the finals. 2017, Team WE beat C9 and loses to Samsung Galaxy in the semis. 2018 Fnatic beats C9 and loses to Invictus Gaming in the finals. And now 2021, Gen G beats Cloud9 and then lost to EDG in the semis. So the team that beats Cloud9 never wins the world championship. But
if you lose to Cloud9, then you never win the championship either, because then you're knocked out.
Exactly.
Damn, so dude, what do you do,
so
dude?
No one wants to play Cloud9 in the knockout stage.
Wow, that's some bad voodoo right there, man. That's funny.
Cloud9 has always been like the meme team with like all their players being goofy and like into joke and meme on Twitter and everything. So it just makes sense that the memes would just like feed right into Cloud9's hands.
Yeah, that's so crazy, man.
Yeah. But yeah, EDG and Damwon Gaming Kia in the finals, full 5-game series. What were you like thinking watching it through? Did you get to watch it live or?
Yeah, I watched every game live. There is an element to which here's my true thoughts about this year's final. I am never going to trust a word that these fucking analysts say throughout the whole year, throughout the whole tournament. It is meaningless. From the most important pundits, we got some of the like what is now just total trash analysis. Totally ignoring whatever strengths EDG had going into the final and just really trying to suck off Damwon. So
I brought it up last week. I said I was a little like uneasy about the fact that all the analysts everything I saw the second that EDG won their series in the semis, it was, oh, congratulations, Damwon. Oh, 3-0 Damwon. All this stuff. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's really hasty. Like, even just for the sake of a joke, that is really hasty. Yeah. And seeing it from people that are like, still in their paid positions, they're like happy to be wrong about it. That to me is just a little like meh. Overall, though, that leaving my critique of the people aside, I thought that was one of the most exciting best of fives I've ever seen.
I fully agree.
The fact that EDG won game 1, I was like, dude, I was mind blown right there. I was like, let's fucking go, because already that was contrary to everything, right?
Yeah, I texted you. I'm like, well, I guess it can't be a 3-0 or something like that.
Right. That was the most amazing. That was the most amazing thing. And then for it to go like, for it to go one to Damwon and then to EDG and then go. What was it? So 2 to EDG, 2 to Damwon.
No, Damwon went up 2-1 first. So EDG won the last 2.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So just like a series where you didn't know what was going to happen the whole time. The fact that like champions were being passed back and forth, the team comps were way different in every game. It was just like it was an epic series. It really was.
Oh, phenomenal. I I definitely count it up there as one of the best of fives that I've seen. I unfortunately didn't watch it fully live. I saw bits and pieces, but then went back and rewatched. And man, like the performances that we had coming out on both sides were extremely impressive, along with the strategies. I really was very impressed by a lot of Damwon's like planning for different comps and everything during the series. Like the Malzahar Kiana was absolutely stupid to watch. Like you see Malzahar go and ult someone, people come rushing to the aid of whoever got ulted, and then Kiana just smash her ultimate against a rock, stun 4 people, and then like Damwon just dominates the team fight. Like that was just so well played and so textbook. I was really, really impressed by their planning and having some different strategies prepared. So
well, and then just looking game to game, like, but then the steadfastness of EDG, where so they picked the Malzahar into their like pick comp, where they can just like get a pick and then just take advantage of the 5v4, right? In the next game, EDG, they don't even look at the Malzahar. They just say, okay, we're supposed to ban the Kiana here. That means they can't even look at the Malzahar. The Malzahar won't even matter in that sense. And then they don't even look to play around the LeBlanc again. They're just like, all right, cool, flip the script, go on to the next thing. And to see my favorite part about the series was games 4 and 5, where Showmaker and Scout traded the Zoe pick back, where they didn't play the same matchup. Showmaker took the Syndra in game 5, where Scout played Orianna in game 4. But
Scout played Zoe both games.
Did he? I thought they traded it back.
Showmaker played the Orianna, and then the Syndra.
Oh, fuck, man! I'm reading these graphs so wrong.
But still, nonetheless, like the Zoe pick was just super impactful too. Like it was, I was really impressed with the play and everything coming out, and kind of, I mean, the Zoe I feel like is one of the big things that kind of clinched that game 5. They like getting the pick around the Elder Dragon and then kind of pushing back towards mid lane and all getting picks and wiping Damwon was. Kind of seemed to be the tipping point for that one.
Yeah, for sure, and that's where I was trying to get to, where the pick ended up being super impactful in the games that it was in, and especially in that game 5. So yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, and I was really impressed. Again, I know I'd mentioned it before, but Viper throughout the series was just like playing extremely well. And I was also really impressed with Gigi for EDG, because that was one of my kind of curiosities or concerns. Like, what's going to happen? This guy doesn't really play that many different champions. He played Jarvan 5 games in the semifinals. But he pulled out the Jarvan, he pulled out the Xin Zhao, he brought out the Viego for a game, and even though he played the Xin Zhao 3 times, like he outplayed Canyon pretty thoroughly, especially in that 5th game there.
Yeah, I agree. And there was an element to our conversations over the course of the tournament where he was a big question mark. His champion pool was a big question mark. But yeah, it was nice to see him be adaptable in the best of 5s and also show strength on a champion that he, wasn't playing a significant amount of earlier in the tournament.
Yeah. Very, very fun series, and like I think it's just awesome for EDG to come out with that World Championship, like they have struggled so hard just like to make it to international competition. They always seem to be kind of like the one left out, and all for the most part. They've made it to a couple here and there, but for them to make it to the World Finals, be expected to be 3-0'd, and to win in that fashion is just awesome. Very, very cool.
Yeah, I agree, and it's now back into China's hands for the trophy, where it was FPX, Damwon Gaming, now back to EDG. Those are the three most recent winners. So in the last 3 years, China's got two. And it being the organization's first, where I remember an era where the three letters EDG used to like terrify me come Worlds time, like when thinking about North America versus them. But yeah, like you said, it never came to fruition. They never won the final. So eventually you just kind of, not think too much of them. But now this is I feel like a statement tournament for EDG as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is just huge for some of those players that have been very good for a while. I mean, you and I have both heard Thorn talk about Flandre for like 4 years, I feel like it's been, and how good of a top laner he is. And for him to get that opportunity finally come out and put on a performance like that. Scout as well. The two of them were kind of, I think, the players that people were most excited to see how they do on the international stage, because they are considered to be world renowned, even though they hadn't had the opportunity to prove it. Very just exciting, and I think like exciting going forward that I'm happy that they won after all the. I'm happy the analysts were just like proved completely wrong.
Me too.
And especially by EDG just playing better than Damwon. Not because Damwon had a bad day or like weren't themselves or this happened or that happened. Like, no. Like EDG came out to play. They played their style extremely well, and came away with the series and the World Championship. And like that is exciting to me, because I hope that analysts will keep that in mind when they're thinking about dropping these little meme like score lines and stuff before any games have been played.
Yeah, and it's hopefully, well, it's definitely made me look at like our analysis and how we talk about teams and this and that, where I want to say the objective thing, not the inflammatory thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and like also I think we do consider those things pretty well when we're like saying our guesses for, because that's pretty much what they are, guesses for how a series is gonna go.
Sure.
But like we rarely will pick a 3-0 in terms of that, because we just these teams are all playing there for a reason, especially in the World Championships. These teams made it there for a reason.
Right.
Like, they're not bad at League of Legends. So to think that one is that much below when they've made it to the same point in the tournament is a little bit disingenuous. So I am glad that we kind of take that perspective and try to be objective with it.
Yeah, definitely. But that was, like I said, one of the most exciting best of fives that I've ever seen. So yeah, very happy to have watched it live. Very happy to be a part of it. Very happy to have tracked the whole tournament. I think it was super exciting. Overall, I look forward to, hopefully there'll be a day where Riot does a losers bracket for their Worlds knockout stages, so it's a double elim, not a single elim. Yeah. But overall, for the format that we got, I thought it was an insanely exciting knockout stage with the dominant performances early in the knockout stages where it's like, okay, like these teams are here to play. Then we got a couple of, we got the 10-game weekend where these teams battled like crazy. And then we had another fucking all the way to Silver Scrapes. I thought these teams fought tooth and nail. It was super exciting to watch the best in the world just go head to head.
Yeah, and one of the more exciting like finishes to the World Championship with how close the last 3 series were. Like you said, that's I would not be surprised if I think there's only been one other World Championship that went to 5 games in the finals. So I seriously
T1 versus Rocks Tigers.
Yeah, and so I seriously doubt that there's that time had the last 3 series go to 5 games each. I can't imagine that happened. I mean, I can check, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. This has been a very competitive year, that's for sure.
Yeah. So and very fun to watch. Yeah, Samsung beat H2K 3-0 that year.
Yeah.
So yeah. Not that close.
Not that close.
But that yeah, I mean only one series to really talk about, so a little bit shorter even though it is a big event, but I know you had a couple of other notes that you might have wanted to mention with the finals. Did you want to get into any of those?
Yeah, just as far as the pick and ban went, the one note that I did find interesting was Yumi was banned out by Red Side every time. So for a pick that was a part of some team's game plan, she just got taken out on Red Side every single time. And I'm happy that we did not see her in the finals, actually, because then we would have seen, like, fucking Ezreal, Yumi, and shit like that. And then it would have been less competitive and less high level, I think. And then, so that was just a point on the team comps. And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, this match changes the narrative for best player in the world significantly. Who do you think is the best player in the world? And who do you think, now with a little bit of hindsight, a little bit of 2020, who do you think was the best player at the tournament?
So, I think I have the same answer for both, but it makes it a little bit more contentious. But I do feel like Showmaker is the best player in the world, and I think that he was also the best player throughout the tournament. He really did not have very many bad performances throughout, and the other performances, not only were they not bad, but they were phenomenal in a number of occasions, and he just really carried his team, was extremely strong. However, I do think that Viper, in my opinion, can contend with that a bit more now, especially having won the World Championship. It's not super common, I guess, that the team that loses might have the better individual player, but that's why it's a team game. So
sure.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts on that? Do you have has it changed your mind, or are you kind of on a similar track as myself?
I'm pretty sure, and I'll tell you my reason why. I'm pretty sure Viper was, or I'll say this. I think Showmaker was the best player at the tournament, but I think Viper is the best player in the world right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess break that down a little for me.
Okay, so Showmaker, I think mechanically is impressive from every angle. You look at his CS, you look at his KDA, you look at just his map positioning, you look at his laning stats. He is a formidable opponent. But What I don't think he did during the tournament was define the meta at all. There were players who made people answer their picks. And that's why I think Viper is the best player in the world right now, because he defined the AD carry meta at the tournament and then excelled at it. He was the best at that style. Nobody else played the Lucian Nami as good as him and Mako did. And the positioning he had on Lucian, the mechanics that he exhibited in those games where team comps were being built around him in a role that is traditionally like very hard to play. You look at the assassins that are being picked, you look at the Lee Sins, the Kennons, the Gwens, the Talons. These are all champions that should be able to one-shot Jins and Aphelioses. They should be able to one-shot your Jinx and your Misfortune. But Viper was able to exceed the meta in a way where he made other players look at their picks and say like, oh shit, that's actually what we're supposed to be playing. And you saw a bunch of people pivot to the Lucian Nami, and it became like priority then.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
He defined the AD carry meta at the tournament, and then he played that style the best at the tournament.
Yeah, and I think that's like it can definitely be a little tough to define like what makes one better than the other. I think that's a really good example.
Subjective.
And I think that's a really good breakdown of like your opinion with it and all. I think that on my side, I feel as though Showmaker was a bit more impactful for his team. So that weighs in on it for me. I think a little bit more, but you're definitely right. I mean, Showmaker played 5 different champions during the finals. He was kind of more of that flexible piece of picking whatever is either the best available option or fits their team comp the best and all, and not really putting himself necessarily in the position to just always kind of have the dominant position and all, like Viper being able to say, okay, this is, like you said, defining the role and saying, hey, these are the best bot laners that you can play right now, so I'm just going to pick them and shit on everyone until people try and match me, kind of thing. Like that's huge.
Yeah, and I think he is in a role that is comparable mechanically. I don't know, unless you're just like one tricking like a Elise and Lee Sin. I don't think a jungler, unless they're doing like really high level macro stuff and like defining the way teams are like moving on the map, I'm not sure we're in an era where the best player is a jungler. What do you think?
I think
because it would have been like Canyon or like Clid, right?
Canyon probably. I think that just the way that the role is right now, it's a lot more about the 2v2 as opposed to the jungle individually. So I think that that forces the jungle into a position where they're more highlighting or adding to the mid laner or the top laner, depending on what lane the team is playing towards. So it's tougher, even though a jungler, I'd say, could definitely be the most mechanically talented player. For them to be the best player, it's tough because their role is very reliant on the impact of the other roles and all.
Sure.
So that makes it a little bit tougher. So I agree. I don't think we're in an era that a jungler is going to be considered the best player in the world.
And that even feels weird to say. Like, people were playing Lee Sin, but it's I don't know. I think it feels different than it has in past years.
Yeah.
As far as like the jungler position goes.
Definitely. I mean, the junglers that have been played are pretty binary in a sense of like
They just kind of go in.
You're just going at someone. Yeah, you're not like You're not playing Kha'Zix and trying to find positioning after you get a kill and hop out and like do all these things. You're not playing. They weren't playing a lot of the Lee Sin. They got picked here and there periodically, but it was not like it was like maybe the fourth or fifth most frequent pick as a jungler. It was
it wasn't like top prio
down the list. It wasn't a contested champion at all in the pick ban. The Gragas not being played in the jungle, I have always felt that that's a pretty like mechanically difficult jungler. I think some people might disagree, but the reliance on your ultimate to be such a game-changing thing, but for it to be such a broad skill shot, I think is extremely difficult. So it's like the champions, the Xin Zhao, the Viego, the Jarvan.
They just go forward, man.
Trundle that got played. Talon is like the only one of the only junglers at Worlds that I look at and I'm like, okay, like that looks pretty tough, and you have to really be very on top of like where everyone is and very attentive to what's going on to play that. Otherwise, you're just gonna get popped. So
yes. I would tend to agree. Although the talent is a bit like multi-dimensional with like the wall hops and stuff, he can get really creative with gank paths. But yeah, overall, no, I think you're right. It was just a pretty go forward meta overall at Worlds. But I think that's teams just min-maxing, right? You can win games if champions are dead.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing that I did find pretty interesting though with the series was the matching of like the supports as well. So it was not just like counter picks in the other lanes, but the support role, like game one, the Rakan and the Zillion, they were kind of primarily playing the same style of support and trying to match the other one. The game two, the Rakan versus the Leona didn't go super well for EDG. So then the next games, it's Leona Braum, Lulu Nami, Leona Rakan again. So it's like it's those matchups trying
you're like
to
matching playmaking potential, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or like tankiness or like whatever buffs between Lulu and Nami, like those things. I thought that was just an interesting point because I feel like there had not been as much of the switching back and forth between. It was either these players are playing like mage supports or both teams are playing like tanks like Leon or Braum or like whatever. So it was kind of interesting just to see them bounce back and forth between the enchanters and the tank support, engage support kind of style. So
yeah, it's fun to see. It's fun to see the supports like mixing up the flavor of how they're choosing to help the team. The one thing that I do find exciting is the how much they're able to like play for their team and be so impactful. Looking at like the ward scores and keeping an eye on the mini map with vision and seeing how the supports are moving and their timings, they are very essential throughout the game. And I think in this best of five specifically between Mako and Beryl, I think the picks were exciting, and then also the in-game play was super high level. I think very impactful.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So, but yeah, that was that's the finals of the World Championships. We are now kind of into the preliminary off-season stuff. There's been all sorts of interesting things. Like I briefly mentioned the start of last week with Bjergsen coming back to play again this year and all. But there are seem to be a number of different rifts between some different people and all. Doublelift was out on stream talking shit on TSM and the organization. Bjergsen clearly did not want to stay with them after being there for so long, so I'm curious if something happened there or if he was just like, I want to play mid lane again, and they were like, sorry, our mid lane's filled. And just kind of, they were like, you got to look elsewhere if you're going to come back to be a player and all. So it was just interesting. Jensen may be out now at Team Liquid for Bjergsen. It sounds like TL is bringing in potentially Bjergsen and Hans Sama from the different like things that I've seen online and videos and whatnot. So
TSM released their whole roster.
Did they really?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. They're all free agents. I'm pretty sure.
Sorry, I thought you meant released as in they like put out who their 5-man roster is going to be. Like they released.
Oh no.
They announced their roster, but yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so I thought that was surprising. Moving into next year, I think we're going to see a lot of North American shakeups for rosters, and we may see some interesting colors on some interesting people.
Yeah, I think we will. It's going to be weird seeing Bjergsen in anything other than TSM gear. Like, that's going to be a bizarro kind of world, just like I think it was for a lot of people seeing Doublelift in TSM gear after his long stint on CLG.
Sure.
So
I would say that's likely a lack of exposure to how other franchises in sports move, though.
Oh, 100%. It's been very different. There's franchise players are...
They're few and far between, man.
Yeah, and I think they're also more of a indication of an earlier stage of the sport as well. I think they're now in the days of big money and big contracts for professional sports as well as esports. There's a lot more willingness for teams and players to go one way or the other, chasing the bag or the better team option or whatever, as opposed to having that like franchise loyalty, quote unquote, for staying with one team for the extent of your career. Because I mean, there's also these times where, hey, like it's not that you're not playing anymore. It's just your team's looking to upgrade the role. Like with only 5 positions, it's a lot harder to stay on one team throughout your entire career. I mean, similar to like F1, I feel like a lot of the drivers, like, I mean, at the beginning of the career, you're not coming into an Alpine, McLaren, a Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull. You're coming into a sister team or one of those other teams that have been kind of towards the back of the field recently on the grid. So, like, you start there, then you work your way up, and then you end up, in some cases, going back down towards the end of your career, like Kimi moving from Ferrari back down to Alfa Romeo for the end of his career. So,
yeah. Although there's an element to which I don't want to give too much weight to all this because who knows where the info is coming from. Obviously, we'll cover it more as we learn more. But yeah, there's there could be some interesting things going on here.
Yeah, so some shakeups with rosters and all. I thought that was interesting just in general. So
for sure.
I'm excited to see how that shakes out. And I mean, I have Twitter open had it open for other tweets that I was looking at, but I hit my homepage and 2 of the top 3 like tweets are about off-season stuff. So it seems like it's going to be a nice little drama-filled couple of weeks for the start of this until pieces of the puzzle start falling into place. So
if there aren't games on the Summoner's Rift, there'll be mind games on Twitter. That's for sure.
Yeah. So. We'll see how it shakes out, but should be a fun off season. Jack is
definitely.
C9 Jack is already claiming to have lost the off season, which usually means that Cloud9's gonna. That's what everyone has said the past few years when players get snatched up and like
Gotcha.
when Jensen left, they're like, "Oh, Cloud9 lost the off season, getting Niski to replace Jensen.
Gotcha.
They're gonna be trash and all this stuff."
Yeah.
And then they're like the best or like second best team in the league.
Right.
So Jack is just memeing about losing the off season already.
Very cool. Very
didn't
cool.
Get Bjergsen, and Perks is kind of up for potential to be taken. So
Yeah, and I saw he might even look at opportunities in the LEC, go back home, so that'd be interesting.
It would be. For 1 year, definitely an interesting attempt to see if it worked out. But,
Right.
I mean, hey, if he stays, love it. Happy to
Sure.
cheer for him. If he goes, I'll root for him anyway. He's good dude, pretty funny.
Yeah,
So like,
whoever he plays for, I'd root for him.
yeah. So, but that just leaves that open to discussion. Who's gonna potentially come in? See how that goes this season.
Yeah, we'll see who TSM brings in. Maybe I put my TSM hat back on. We'll see.
You got the jacket too, right?
I do have the jacket.
Yeah, so you could throw that on. You
TSM
downloaded
falling
League of
short of it.
Legends again. So
Dude, and it's been the worst decision of my life, so, you know.
So doesn't that just make you want to play 12 hours a day to grind your way up?
Well, I'm bronze 2. I'm making my way up, dude. I'm on the grind every single day.
There's almost only up from there.
There's only up from there, man.
I mean, I would hope you don't go down to iron, but it's been a bit since we played.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't played that much at all.
Yeah. But I guess moving on from the League of Legends talk and everything, you got some more Commander 9 games in, right?
Yeah, we did. We only got 2 in on yesterday, but they are longer games, and I don't know why. I don't know if like we just take our time on turns, but the turn length of the games is the same like overall, but yeah, they just go longer. So we only got 2 games in. But yeah, they were kind of interesting in the way that I had to just kind of suck it up. In the first game, I played Kaikar, so that's white, red, blue, makes a bunch of spirits. It's like artifacts and stuff. Ian was playing Locust God, so he's trying to cast a bunch of draw 7s and make a bunch of locusts and kill the table. And so he wheeled twice in the game. Wheeling is draw 7. Most of those, everybody does it, though. And then he just tries to have a piece out that like leverages it better. But he wheeled twice, and on the second wheel, the hand that I drew into was pretty good, and for whatever reason, he thought he like wheeled me into a victory, so he just immediately killed me the next turn, and then I proceeded to have to wait 45 minutes for the next game while Brett just like slogged out a victory. And the whole time, Ian's just like, "Oh man, I had to take you out." Then, I had to take you out. I had to take. It's like, well,
did he
maybe
see what you had?
No, he couldn't have. I played 1 card after the wheel, and he was just like, "Oh, that's it."
Well, I mean, you didn't show him what you had?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I said I was close, but I didn't have it. You know,
Gotcha.
I like you know whatever. But so yeah, that one was tough, and I don't mind like him taking out the wrong person. I don't mind being taken out of the game. I don't mind losing a game. It was just the waiting forever for the next one.
Yeah.
That was kind of tough because like you just feel you're not going to play that many games.
Right. Especially when it drags out that long. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was rough for game 1, and then with hindsight even more because the second game happened. I just was like, I got fucked last night. I did not play a whole lot of Magic. So I had a good opening hand. I had a couple of lands, 2 fetch lands. So I had 4 lands, 2 of them were fetch lands, Crucible of Worlds in hand, and like a Mole Drifter and like whatever else. So basically, I'd be able to get my commander out easily, the Crucible of Worlds plus those fetch lands, go into the graveyard so I can just keep recurring them. That means I have a land drop every turn. I was going to be perfect. Literally on turn 4, Brett plays a Stranglehold. Stranglehold is an enchantment. It says your opponents can't gain life and your opponents can't search their libraries. Fetch lands say search your library for a land and put it onto the battlefield. The first card I drew for the game said search your library for a forest. So that one card just totally fucked me out of the game. I couldn't ramp, couldn't do it, couldn't get to my commander, couldn't get the amount of mana that I needed for the kill spell to destroy it. So like I was just ass out that whole second game. So that was really tough.
Damn, that's a brutal night of Magic, man.
Yeah, it was. It was really brutal. And like I just at a certain point, I'm like racking in my brain like, motherfucker, should I have done this? Could I have done that? And sometimes, man, you just not your night.
It's
and
the
that
heart of
was
the cards, man.
Exactly. And so that was part of my like rose where I was just sitting there just thinking about it, where I was like, you know, because obviously I had different opinions after the game last night, right?
Yeah.
You know, when I got home, I was like, man, fuck. Because I just want to do so much better. I want to play more games and, you know, whatever. Overall, I think they were good games of high level Magic. I was just the butt of the joke, right? So,
yeah.
Hey, fair enough.
That happens.
Yeah, it happens. But before we get out of here, and before I complain too much about Magic cards, what I did want to talk about, because this has been a weekend of firsts. You know, Sergio, first Mexican to podium at a Mexican Grand Prix. We had EDG getting their first World Final victory. We also had Simple. Some call him the best CSGO player in the world right now, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. He got his first major at PGL Stockholm 2021. He plays for Navi. They took down G2 in the finals. It was a 2-0. He went nuts in the first game. I mean nuts. This guy with the sniper rifle could not be touched. It was insane. I think he went like 32 and 20 or something on the first board. They played Ancient. It was disgusting. And that wasn't even the most exciting part. On Nuke, second half, they're down 5 rounds. So G2 only needs 1 round, and they bring it to Mirage. They have a chance to go to game 3. So Navi is down 10 rounds to 15. They go 5 rounds in a row against G2, bring it to an overtime. They draw even in that first overtime, go to a second overtime, and then they end up clutching it out. They came back so many rounds in a row to end up like taking the 2-0 victory. It was so fucking exciting, man. And they were playing Nuke is like really close quarters. There's like ladders and like grates and all sorts of like really tight corners and corridors. Man, it was something else. These kids are wild. These kids are wild, man.
Well, that's why I really enjoy when I get a chance, or if I'm like not doing anything, I see it's on. I enjoy watching Counter-Strike as well as Valorant. Like the big swings that you can have in terms of like getting off a few rounds in a row and like getting some wins to crawl back. Like sometimes all it takes is just a really good eco round to get yourself back in it. And like take out the opponent's heavy guns, maybe pick up a couple, like get your econ back in. Very, very interesting like style of game. It's in some ways so much tougher to climb back into the game than in like a game like League, but then at the same time there's also that ability to where it's like it's not completely lost. It's not about the other team necessarily fucking up. It just takes you playing really well. Like League, if you're down 10k gold, like the other team needs to mess up for you to win. It's not like it's very hard for just you playing really well to actually like bring that back for a win. But in CS and Valorant,
because it's the round to round thing,
right? Exactly, and like you can pick up your opponent's guns if you kill them with a pistol. You can steal that op. You can like grab that and everything, and trade guns around and all. And I think that makes it a little more exciting in a way. Like that even if there is one of those leads, all it takes is one team getting a big round and going on a little run there, swinging the momentum right back.
Dude, and that's exactly what Navi did, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, and momentum in that seems to play such a huge difference too. I don't know why. I feel like a lot of CS and like Valorant players get a little more like emotional swings than like League of Legends. Like League, after a big loss in a best 5, you see them like huddled in the room with the coach, and they're all going and they're like really like intently listening. And like in CS and Valorant, I feel like there's a lot more of like people like jumping up and like pointing at the other side and all of that like showboating or kind of more inflammatory kind of stuff. So
big time.
So that very varying emotion, I feel like kind of swings that momentum a bit too, which is kind of
very much so. Yeah, and it's not just like an in-game momentum mechanic with like the economy, where you get money for kills and rounds and stuff, and that's how you buy your guns. So not only when you're winning those rounds, getting your econ back, you're saying you're getting the juices flowing. You're pointing at the guy saying like, whatever expletives you want to say. But yeah, it is a very like emotional and swingy type game. You would see that all the time at the Call of Duty majors. It's something about the first person shooters, dude. If you've ever watched like a Nintendo con where they have like Street Fighter tournaments, these dudes are like sitting fucking shirtless right next to each other, like yelling in each other's faces.
Yeah,
dude, it's crazy, man. So yeah, man, gamers are not to be fucked with.
It's so entertaining to watch when you get to see a good clip of something like that. It's
for sure
always good for a laugh. But no, that's really awesome. Congrats to Simple and to Navi. I think that was probably one of the last things that people were kind of holding against him in terms of like whether or not they consider him to be the best player in the world.
He just didn't have a major.
He doesn't have any majors, so like, so that's pretty cool. So congrats to them. That's awesome.
Well, and there'd be a big difference if like Navi won and his scoreline was like 15-20 or whatever, but like he won that fucking series. It was him and Bit just fragging their heads off. Like they were so fucking good, man. Honestly, so fucking good. Like I don't know a whole lot about CSGO. I don't know a whole lot about the first-person shooters. I get to see, like, one or two of the big majors, only a couple matches, whatever. But this final was something sick. Simple was, like, out of his mind.
Yeah,
so
I'm curious,
I think we,
what were his, like, what were his, like, stats for it?
In the first game, his ADR was like 107. I think he was like 17, 18 points above anybody else. On the first game, he went like 32-21, I think was his score. And then on the second board, he didn't do as hot, but Bit was up there with like, I think Bit dropped like 27 or something in the second game. So like they were controlling the scoreboard. It was wild.
Gotcha. Yeah. I found it. Yeah. He went 32-17 in the first series, plus 15 on kills to deaths, and then he was 40 and 24 on nuke.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So he went insane too.
Yeah, he still. I mean, his like KD was slightly lower. I guess maybe, or yeah, slightly lower, but overall, just really, that's wild. And he was positive in every one of their matchups based on this like graphic that I found. He was like consistently like going ham. So that's wild. So yeah, for him to get the major and also to have been like the best player on the map, pretty impressive.
Yeah, so like as they would say in Formula One, like he did it on merit. Like G2 didn't fuck up.
Yeah.
So now he's up there with like Get Right, Olaf. I think he has kind of solidified his name among some of the greats there. So that was an awesome final to watch. If you haven't seen it, but yeah, that was in other esports news.
I like it. I like bringing that in a little bit. We'll probably have some other different stuff over the next couple months with League being in their off season and everything. See what else is out there.
Dude, we gotta find some like wacky fucking sport to cover in the winter and like get like real serious about it.
We'll have to see what's out there.
Yeah. Well, see, but then there's the idea of like, the winter break is kind of nice to, not feel like we have to record so much and this and that.
Yeah,
so maybe that's the route to go to.
Yeah, we could do a little bit of both.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a big weekend of first there. Aaron, give me your flavor of the week. What have you been sipping on?
So over the weekend, Colleen and I, like I said, we had our stay-at-home, do-nothing weekend. So for my food, she had made some buffalo chicken dip for us to just like have as a snack throughout the weekend and all. And then I made us some baked mac and cheese on Saturday. So we had baked mac and cheese and buffalo chicken dip. Combine them and get a nice buffalo chicken mac and cheese. So that was really, really good. Some needed sustenance on Saturday.
Nice.
My music Saturday as well. We were listening to a lot of music, watching a lot of videos and all. So a lot of like EDM playlists and stuff like that. Some like chill kind of stuff. We're just relaxing, hanging out and all. So that was a lot of just good music and kind of visuals and all on Saturday. But nice. For my visual medium, it's actually a show I had watched the first season before, and they came out with the second season. I had never like gotten into it, and that is Altered Carbon. It's a Netflix show, basically futuristic, where every person has their like consciousness stored on a little like data drive that's like in their neck, kind of. So like, so if your physical body dies, as long as the chip is intact, you can just put it into like a new body or a new like. The really rich people can have enough money to like buy clones of themselves and stuff like that. So these people just like can perpetually like just live indefinitely because there's no deterioration of the actual like consciousness because it's all stored on this like data drive. And so the main character was arrested, and they basically just like stored his data drive like indefinitely in some like hole basically, and he gets pulled out because someone wants him to do a like job for them, and everything. So that's kind of how it starts, but very interesting, like concept and kind of sci-fi. I enjoy the sci-fi stuff. So
Sure, that's dope.
So that's a pretty cool show. I've been enjoying and rewatched the first season, and I'm into the second season, enjoying that and also.
Sweet. That's what's up. I think Sarah's watched a little bit of that. That sounds quite familiar. I'll have to ask her about that, but that's really cool.
Gotcha. I definitely think it's worth checking out. So I do recommend it. But Justin, how about you? Flavor of the week?
Mine's pretty boring here for the week. I've seen some people talking in Discord about like hearing fucking holiday songs when they're like out shopping about. I'm just like, no, please. Not that I'm like out in public too often or anything. I'm just not looking forward to that being the flavor of the next couple of months. My food, yeah, I know, it's crazy. My food, Sarah took my heed. We were talking about her ribs and her rib sauce, and she had made it twice, and they were never something I would go back to, and I wouldn't eat a lot of. Like, they were tasty, but I think the sauce was a bit too sweet, so we talked a little bit about that, and the sauce that she came back with was killer. And what we ended up doing was making just like little rib sandwiches. So, fully cook the ribs and just like pick them apart, put it on bread with some French fries.
Ribs.
You got it. It was fucking banging. So the new sauce recipe was just like amazing.
Does she home make the barbecue sauce?
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
She fucks around with all sorts of stuff. She's always on like recipe websites and talking about this and wanting to grab that. And she's always like tinkering and wanting to try and like, oh, what do you think about this? And do you need that? I think overall she adds way too much salt to things. But yeah, overall, problem. Yeah,
I like salt.
Sure. It's not a bad thing, but overall, yeah, I mean, she knocks it out the park. So that new rib sauce was dope, and then the show I'm looking forward to. I haven't started it yet, but I think I'm gonna wait till a couple more of the acts are out. But Arcane looks pretty cool.
So I did start it. I watched the first act that came out, and it pulled me in pretty good. It was interesting.
Nice.
Not quite what I was expecting, and it didn't have quite as much like just craziness or excitement right out the gate. But it like the background, it's a lot of like background kind of things and all. There are some nice like interesting points to it and all, but it is actually about a number of storylines. There's Jinx and Vi, Caitlyn and Jace, Echo, like a number of these different characters.
Very cool.
So it does kind of follow a bunch of interconnected but separate kind of storylines, which is very cool. But in general, I think I'm a little... I am kind of just antsy now to see where it goes. So like I'm just ready for the rest of it. So I would say it was pretty good, but it was made definitely for children to be able to watch it as well. I would say like it is still enjoyable for us, but they do kind of keep it a little bit toned down with some of the different like language and like the way that it's like the plot goes a little bit to kind of broaden the audience, I guess. So
well, that's fair enough, because I don't think there's too many like really adult themes in League of Legends, and even like them removing Graves' cigar a while back, like that just shows you they really want to be just like a family friendly company. So I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah,
but yeah, I was just looking forward to that. So I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah, take Graves' cigar and then put Evelyn in the game half naked when you rework her. It's family no, they do a pretty good job of keeping things pretty PG. So
big memories feed the babies, dude. You need them.
And there are plenty of babies in the League of Legends community.
Plenty of babies, yes, sir. So yeah, that's my flavor of the week here. It was a little bit of a lighter one, but still enjoyable, especially with that rib sauce.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that sounds really good. I don't do too many I do some of my own sauces, but something like that, like barbecue, I don't really like. I would just buy barbecue sauce. I make sauces that I can't like buy in the store typically.
Right,
I usually, otherwise, I'm a little more.
Well, you're not living, dude. You're not living fully.
Apparently. So.
Apparently. Mm-hmm.
But that does bring us to the end of this episode. Everyone, of course, you can find us on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all over the place, Anchor. So if you're looking for us, you definitely can find us pretty easily. We're on Twitter at tall and short of 1, the number 1. And yeah, thank you again for listening.
Yeah, that is at tall and short of 1 on Twitter if you want to reach out, get in the conversation. And just like Aaron said, I just want to say thank you so much for spending your time with us. We are the tall and short of it. This has been another episode of the podcast. Peace out, everyone.
Later.